so beautiful.
In a little over an hour's content, I can safely say that if not for both, certainly for one of these characters, this series was absolutely worth it. And if you are refusing to watch this because you don't like the animation, or you don't think it's canon, or you don't believe that it's worth it, or whatever, I hereby decree that you are a fool.
He's out of line, but he's right.
So, here's what I'm going to do. This episode, or this video, will be just my absolute thoughts on the entire series as a whole. And then I'm going to do quick, like, mini short episodes, just reviewing each individual episode pretty much. I am very excited to step into this and just offer up my thoughts. This is going to be a spoiler video. Every single one is going to be spoiler content. It's very difficult to talk about the series other than just saying basically it was really good and it was very emotionally heavy. There was a lot of weight to it and it added a lot. There's your non-spoiler review. So if you're interested, stick around. If you're not, go and watch something else on my channel. I've got a lot more that I'm recording and editing right now, and I will be throwing up on YouTube in the coming days. And I've already got a lot of content behind me, so go and check that all out. Alright, so getting into this, Star Wars Tales of the Jedi follows two characters, Ahsoka Tano and Count Dooku. Obviously from the animated side of things, using the Clone Wars animation style, and we focus the series primarily looking at Ahsoka's journey and her abilities and how she becomes more capable as a Jedi and a warrior later on, and from Dooku more of his philosophies and his ideology, and getting more of an insight into his descent into the Sith, pretty much. That is the crux of the series. Ahsoka's journey has probably been filled out the most in terms of Star Wars content, but I don't really read any of the books, so I'm not too well versed when it comes to Dooku's story. So this was almost like more essential viewing than normal for me. So firstly, it has to be said the execution of the series was amazing. It took us through in a chronological order. We did start with Ahsoka, and then the next 3 episodes was Dooku's journey, and then we ended with Ahsoka for the final 2 episodes. And I was fine with it. You know, it took us through chronologically, which is great, and it gave easy viewing content for anybody that's kind of new to Star Wars or has just watched the Clone Wars, for example. I don't think it can be understated that the visuals of this series were otherworldly, considering we started with this. And looking back even as far as season 7, just a little over 2 years ago now, and the first season of Bad Batch last year, we've truly come a long way, and I hope to see this animation style continue for years to come. It was fantastic. The visuals, particularly in episode 1 and episode 4, were fantastic. They were really, really good. And the world building in each episode was equally as amazing, dropping us into familiar and unknown territories, but all aesthetically pleasing. And the visuals were very representative of the themes and underlying tones of each episode if you paid close enough attention. The score and the leitmotifs, particularly when it came to Ahsoka's theme, that has become almost, widely recognizable within the Star Wars fan base at this point, was brilliantly used. Dooku's was underscored with a lot of darker Sith melodies and things like that, and it was just perfect. I love it. Though it could absolutely be argued that Ahsoka didn't need to be put in the series, and we could have spent a bit more time with other Jedi like Plo Koon or Kit Fisto or Obi-Wan or even Mace Windu, I think it gave a more cathartic conclusion. It does kind of follow a trail that's set up in the first episode with life and death and kind of the choices you make in between. That is kind of at the heart of the series, at least to my understanding. It left me feeling, honestly, overwhelmingly satisfied, as we had nothing but details, particularly around Dooku. Ahsoka, it just helped to kind of bolster up what we wanted to kind of figure out, but we didn't necessarily need to know. And it just really strengthened my feelings about Dooku and kind of made me think, holy shit, this guy isn't actually as bad as we thought. He does have bad tendencies to him, and he's definitely more of an anti-hero, but you can kind of get on board with him, and often the best villains in any sort of fiction are the ones that you can relate to, even just on a very basic level, and Dooku is absolutely one of them. Like I said, he's a character that I knew very little about going into this, but his events and the way that his tale played out was just beautiful. It was brilliant, and to make it even more impactful, the events of his story took place a little bit before episode 1, and the final episode of his tale took place during episode 1, The Phantom Menace, which in my opinion punctuates the decisions of that movie even more, and ultimately adds a lot more weight, given that the final episode, he's completely stripped of any faith in the Jedi because of the fact that Qui-Gon is killed. And he even confronts Palpatine by the end of that episode and says, like, what the hell are you doing? Qui-Gon's death wasn't supposed to happen. Why did Maul kill him? And Sidious cements that by saying that, we both lost an apprentice for the greater good, pretty much, and just tries to play it off. But it seems that Qui-Gon's death did particularly hit Dooku, and the short time frame that we saw between Qui-Gon and Dooku's interaction as Master and Padawan, it was awesome. You really did feel for them as a group, as a pairing. Ahsoka's tale was a far more personal experience, but it gave us a fascinating insight into the community she was raised in. It gave us a larger understanding of her capabilities and what Anakin truly did for her as a friend and master in teaching her the ways of the Force and how to defend herself, which, playing out over the seasons, ultimately concluded itself with the final episode in her taking down the sixth brother in less than 3 moves, which was awesome. A very good parallel, in my opinion, to Obi-Wan and Maul's final confrontation in Rebels. There was certainly a darker undertone to these episodes, bar episode 5, which made for more compelling stories, in my opinion, and they felt almost akin to the 03 Clone Wars series that utilised very minimal dialogue and was certainly more action heavy, but it was a refreshing way to present things, and certainly there was a little less action, but the action they did have felt almost secondary to the story itself, and just certainly fit in with the events that played out and didn't feel overdone at any point either. And even more interestingly, by the end of episode 4, we even got some clarity regarding Yaddle, which I never thought we'd get. So this kind of turned into a tale of 3 than just 2. For the most part, I'm really glad that we got this series, and for what it offered, as I said, Dooku was the best part of it, but the little notes that we had of Ahsoka just gave us a more holistic understanding to her past, to her present, and then to the future of what we see with her, and places her at the heart of Anakin's story alongside Padme when we end off her tale, with her being at Padme's funeral. We get a complete, recount of Padme's funeral. We even see the animated version of Padme in the casket. And this was awesome. I freaking love this. Like, seriously, the integration of these animated episodes into the movies at this point is fantastic. Coming out the back of this series, though, I truly want more. There are so many more stories to know and learn and characters to explore. There are more gaps to fill, and there are those that will say we don't need it, but unlike Marvel right now from Disney, we're certainly rather sparse when it comes to content from a galaxy far, far away, and I'm always here for more of it. The last piece of Star Wars content we got was from Kenobi in June, and before that was the Book of Boba Fett in January. So we've certainly been spaced out in terms of content. Marvel, it feels like there's something out every bloody month, and that's why people are getting so tired of it. That's why reactions to the new Ant-Man trailer and the Guardians holiday special haven't exactly been well received or bolstered up. The interest is certainly at the level of, yeah, looks alright, and that's about as far as it goes. It's not quite the hype that used to be there, because it is constantly being thrown down audiences' throats. In terms of Star Wars, though, I understand I do come from a particular level of bias because I grew up with the Clone Wars in particular, and I just love seeing more from this side of Star Wars. And in my opinion, and I will be doing a video on this, but I personally think the animated shows are better than anything we get in live action. Some of the story content is more condensed, and it's just far more engaging to watch. And there have been moments from Book of Boba Fett and Obi-Wan even, and The Mandalorian, which have been great, but still for me don't quite compare to what we get from the animated shows. Coming off the back of it though, I trust Dave Filoni, and if he's giving us these stories, there's almost always a reason behind it. Though in this instance, I will admit this is just more indulgence, but I think Dooku is still a story that we needed to know, we needed to get, and I'm unbelievably happy that we did get it. So I'm good with just some easy content, and this was a nice thing to review. I actually had a lot of fun with this, and yeah, whilst the argument is still going to be out there that we didn't need Ahsoka in this series, I still think it adds to her journey overall, and we've got certainly a more complete idea now heading into her spin-off series of who she is, where she started from, and how she's gotten this far. And it was great. I love it. And thematically it worked. Every episode played out gently. Like I said, there was heavy natures to it, particularly with Dooku's story, but it was brilliant. The only thing I will round off with though is the performances that I thought were amazing were dangerously underused, and I understand that these were short episodes, but to bring back Liam Neeson and Ian McDiarmid for very brief interactions with our Clone Wars counterparts in terms of the actors was awesome, and truly stamps a mark on those fans that don't believe the animated shows count for true content, because Liam Neeson has even gone on record to push that no, these stories are amazing, and Ian McDiarmid is obviously being heavily involved going forward, given he was in this, he was in Rebels, and he's also going to be in The Bad Batch for season 2. So if they're starting to bring a lot of the movie actors into this, it seriously at this point has got to say to those that don't believe the animated stuff is worth it, you're a fool. This is absolutely worth it, so go and check it out. Those are my thoughts though regarding Tales of the Jedi. As I said, I will be doing little short videos that will break down each episode very quickly, and I'll just offer up my thoughts at the end of how I thought about them. This was just more of a greater understanding to how I felt regarding this, and I'd love to hear yours. I really want to know how you felt about the series, so leave your thoughts in the comments down below. Thank you for tuning in. Don't forget to leave a like on this video, subscribe to the channel, as there will always be more content on the way, and until next time, may the Force be with you.